Alex and Savannah here with Flower Street Urban Gardens. Today's video we're going to be talking about servicing our vertical gardens. This garden here we refer to as our corner garden, but actually this is the very first garden that I designed, and this is what people around the country have at their homes and businesses. And this is the one that started it. But basically, 8 years ago this month, my father had to move in with us for health reasons. And he's still with us today, but I wanted to create a hobby garden for him. And what I ended up doing is I went online and I started looking around at vertical gardens. I knew that we wanted to grow food in them. And the gardens that were online that I could find, they weren't really suitable for growing food. A lot of them weren't as attractive as I wanted them to be. And I talked to my wife about it, and she says, well, you can do it, but it needs to look good because it's going to be on our house. This is actually the back corner master bedroom of our home. And so this one is eight years old right now. The only thing that we've really done with it, in 2018, I put a coat of boiled linseed oil on the redwood. We didn't have to disassemble it to do anything like that. We just rolled the oil over the surface, and now it's an amazingly abundant garden. Now, when you're growing vertically in like our kind of a system, a lot of you have heard about microclimates and how important microclimates are in placing trees or your edible gardens. But with the vertical garden, it takes it to a whole different level. This garden faces directly south, so it gets a tremendous amount of sun exposure. However, in this specific application, what's really great about it, when the sun, during the summer solstice, it's going to be straight above, it's going to be getting all this protection from the eave overhead, so a lot of it's going to be shaded. During the winter, the sun's low in the southern sky, it's going to be able to take all that great heat. And then this one, it wraps around this western wall too, and you'll see the corner just a little bit later. But this one is an amazingly productive. Now, if you're placing this garden, and say it faces south in your property, and it doesn't have the overhang to it, you're going to need to be more conscientious about what you plant there for the summer months, in particular here in Arizona. But what is unique about gardening like this is there's microclimates within microclimates here. So for instance, if we didn't have the eave, the top would be fully exposed to the direct sun during the highest part of the summer months, but the lower levels are going to be getting shaded. And you can see in this garden here, we just harvested a bunch of mint out of here, and you can see one of the things that we know about growing mint, it can be very invasive. So what we'll do is we'll harvest the mint, and then we'll go through and dig out a lot of the roots, because mint can kill itself off with the roots. That's how it spreads and grows, and it'll get so compact in there. We'll come in and tear about 50% of it out, and we'll have a whole new flush of growth in here. We also had char in here. We have nasturtiums that's great in salads. So this is the garden that we're going to be servicing. What we're going to be doing is on the top level, many of you that have our gardening system, what you're going to need to do is, when you're working in containers, the plants are going to take up a lot of that soil, and you're going to lose soil volume. So a couple of things you want to make sure that you're always doing, in particular with the plant change-outs, is keeping the soil level up high to the liner, okay? The liner, we manufacture in-house these food-grade liners that have the drainage perforations in them, so one level drains into the next, so whatever you put it on is not going to get wet. But that liner, it can break down if it's exposed to UV light. And here in Arizona, if it's really exposed to UV light here in Phoenix, it'll break down in about 3 years. So as long as you're keeping that full, you guys are going to be good to go. You can top that off with compost. You can top it off with worm castings, or just add some more potting soil to it. But keep that level right up even with the liner. You don't want to go over it, just keep keep it even with the liner or slightly below. Now, say for instance, your gardens, they were low and you need a replacement liner. You can just contact us and we can get those shipped out to you, the replacement liners or any of the replacement pieces that you need. We'll also be doing a future video with some of the upgrades that we've done on the gardens since we very first started. So if you got a garden from us, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, there's some significant changes that you can add these little components onto your garden that we make very affordable to our customers that you can bring your garden up to date. But we're going to be doing a whole servicing garden on how you're going to be updating the gardens in a future video. But for now, I've got everything staged up here on the top. What we're going to be planting, and we've got about 30 inches from the top of the garden to the eave. So what we plan on is we're going to be putting in this one of my favorite lavenders for hot arid area. This is Spanish black-eyed lavender. You know, there's English lavender and there's French lavender. This variety from Spain is much more drought tolerant and it's much more conducive to our kind of climate. So I love this and it's amazingly fragrant. So we're going to be putting in the Spanish black-eyed lavender, and you can see in the gardens we have some volunteers here from years past of the lavender. Also, what we're going to be planting is we're going to be planting some peppers up here. We're going to be planting hot peppers. Now, as you're planting this type of a garden, vertical garden, there's a few things that you can, the options that you have that you don't really have with traditional in-ground or raised bed gardens. Say for instance you have small children and you want to grow some really hot peppers, you probably don't want to have those close where the kids can mess with that, get that on their fingers, and that could cause some irritation for sure. So we don't have that here, but we've got the space that I can put those plants up here. So we've got the Spanish black-eyed lavender, we have the serrano peppers, and also we have some jalapenos that we're going to be putting over here. Now, basically the rule of thumb is 1 plant per square foot or 1 foot. So a lot of our gardens that we ship out, they're 6 feet long. These sections here are only 5 feet. Now these plants are going to be a little bit bigger, so I'm only going to be doing 4 plants for each one of these sections. And the way you look at the sections is there's 3 brackets that support all of the wood and the 3 steel brackets. So this is 1 section here. We've got another section, there's a 3rd section here, and then a 4th one that goes around the corner. So this is what we're going to be planting today. So if you want to come up here with me, you can see what we're doing. We're going to be adjusting the irrigation and stuff as well. Now, if you are joining the gardens together, a key element is making sure that, because we ship out the irrigation systems for inside the gardens with every garden we ship out or you pick up. So they have embedded emitters every 6 inches. You want to make sure that that emitter is not going to be on the center because you're going to get water where you don't want it. It needs to be clearly inside the liner, okay? Then the liner is going to capture the water and it's going to drain it through the drainage area into the one below it without getting any kind of moisture on whatever wall or vertical surface you're putting it on. Now, I'm going to start right here with the peppers, but let's talk peppers just a little bit. This is a jalapeno. It's in a 4-inch container, and we're going to be planting this. Now, when we plant this, we want to plant it just a little further back into the garden so that roots can easily get into the depth of the garden, because we have over 12 inches of soil back there, so they're going to have plenty of room to grow. The other thing is I want to knock off some of the bottom leaves, the small leaves that first come in when the plant, after it germinates and it sprouts. We want to knock off some of those. I'm going to plant it slightly deeper than what it is in the container. So you're just going to turn this over. I'm just going to hold this upside down in between my fingers, and I'm gonna move the soil out of the way. Pop that in, firmly press it down to make good contact. And I like leaving these tags in. I can leave them like this, so from below, I don't have to climb up to see what it is. I can just glance up and look, okay, that's where I planted that particular plant. Now this is a serrano, and with the serrano peppers, we're gonna be breaking off, knocking off these bottom few leaves. I want to put the tag in and then go ahead and pop this out. Now on this one, you'll be able to see a lot more root development on this. So what we're going to want to do is sort of tease these roots apart. And you don't need to be too aggressive with this. It'll come off pretty easy on this one. Some of them may have a whole circular root formation on the bottom. I like just pulling that off. What's going to happen is that's going to allow the roots to go down in deeper. So I'm going to put this one over towards the end of this section. And again, just planting it a little deep. Now, one of the things you may notice is that as you're digging around in the garden, you may get some soil behind the garden. That's not a problem because we've got about 1/4 of an inch of space in between the vertical surface and the back of the board. So if you get dirt or anything there, you can just hose down the wall and the water is just going to flush any of that soil out of there and right back to where it needs to be. It can be right on the ground. So we'll clean out those pots. Now I'm going to put in this lavender. Let's look at how that one is. Now this one, you can see a little bit more of this root formation on the bottom. So we're going to want to definitely pull that apart just a bit. Doesn't take much. Now this garden is one of our largest gardens. This is the largest garden that we ship. It's a 5-tiered garden, okay? So you got a lot of growing space. The brackets themselves are about 6 feet long, okay? From the top of the bracket to the very bottom. So with that, you know, you want to think about the size of a garden that you're going to be able to accommodate. Here, it's up about 16, 18 inches off the ground, so I don't have to bend over too much, but it does make it where I need to get on a ladder to service these gardens. So most of our customers, you know, our 3-tiered and our 4-tiered are our most common sizes, and that you don't really have to get on a ladder. So I'm just gonna move on over a little closer to you guys and continue planting. Now, one other thing that I didn't mention in this one, I did mention that you want to keep the soil level pretty much full, and you can see how it's right at the top of that liner, right? Now, the soil level was down quite a bit in this garden on the top level. I haven't added any soil to it in a little while, so it was pretty low. So what we did is we used some of the composted chicken manure and the compost and mixed it in with the potting soil that was here. Now, sometimes if you're not doing that on a regular basis, you may want to maybe every 3 years change the potting soil out completely. And that's easy with our gardens because you can take out an end cap and slide the whole liner out, soil and all, and then you can just replace it. So I want to pull up that irrigation line, got buried when we were adding things to it. Now again, we just have that a little bit deeper than the pot. Not a lot, probably just about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Can break off a few of the bottom ones. Tease those roots out a bit. Pop it in. I love these kinds of gardens because you don't have to bend over to service the gardens. And these we just get amazing response from as we ship these around the country, and obviously all the people in the Phoenix area that's enjoyed our gardens for a number of years. And you can find our gardens on websites like Wayfair and House. You do get the free shipping, but there is no such thing as free shipping. You can order them directly from us. There is going to be a shipping cost, but it's going to be more times than not a better price than what you'll be able to get through any of the other third-party vendors that we deal with. Once you order the garden, you go online, pick your garden, the size. We have them online right now, the 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6-foot lengths. And we have them from 5 tiers to 1 tier. The 1 tiers are great for window boxes. We're going to be featuring one of the gardens up front that we have an 8-foot window at the kitchen. And what we're going to do to fill that space best with sort of my take on a window box, which is going to be 2 levels. To fill that space, we're going to be using 2 4-foot gardens, and they'll be just sectioned together like this. So it's going to look like one continuous garden, but it makes it a lot more economical than using 8-foot long boards. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and finish a couple of more plants here. It looks like I've got one more on this section, and we will be done. Now, as I look at this, putting in this last plant, I've been looking at all the irrigation as I'm working through, and these irrigation lines will need to be moved because as we were moving things around, you can see this emitter is landing smack dab on the end caps from each garden here. There's a double end cap because you got an end cap on this side and over here. So we're going to need to reposition that, and we'll use the stakes to hold it in place. You get all that with the gardens. And if you remember, a few days ago I had mentioned we are doing a promotion with our big push of educating the country and globally how to grow your own food in an aesthetically beautiful way that's easy and you have everything at your fingertips. We're offering the Victory 2020 promo code that's going to give you 20% off any of your gardens that you select on our website. So check out www.flowerstreeturbangardens.com. This is Alex and Savannah. We'll see you next time.